Hello, YouTube. I'm going to continue on with the series Harmonics of Creation, and going to pick up here on the end of 68. The 13 tones of creation rule all historic, present, and future events in our world, the world of shadows, as described in the following chapter. 4. Creation of the Shadow World. In the first chapter, we saw the overall process of creation occurs in 7 layers, also referred to as days. In the previous chapters, we saw that also each creational step requires 7 days, including 6 intermediate nights. In total, the creation of our shadowy world requires 9 creational waves of the 13 creating tones each. You see, these are 7 days, and this is unique. I've never seen it drawn out like this. The beginning of the overall creation corresponds to the initiating of the space-time identity trinity in the shadow world. Everything that is a beginning also has an end. The ending coincides with the completion of the overall creation. The completion will mean both the end of the space-time identity of our current shadow world, also known as the Armageddon, referring to the ending of the world, and the transcending into the space-time identity of the new world of shadows. At the end of the old world, the new space-time identity will reveal itself. That is precisely the meaning of the word apocalypse, namely revelation or disclosure. Okay? The pace of the 9 waves of the overall creation is fractional. On each day 7, the following wave of creation starts at 35% of the total length of this day. Within the remaining 65%, which equals 1320, the 13 tones of the next wave of creation occur. This means a 20-fold acceleration of creational time for each following wave. To visualize these 9 waves of 20-fold accelerating creation, the Mayans built the pyramid of Kukulkan in the town of Chichen Itza in the region of Yucatan. This step pyramid in the east of the current country of Mexico indeed shows exactly 9 levels. This is I thought this was the pyramid of the plumed serpent, or I might be wrong about that. But, I can't think of his name now. The Mayan calendar, generally referred to as the long count calendar, keeps track of this 9 times 20-fold accelerating creational time. For practical reasons, the long count calendar started at the beginning of the 6th wave in 3114 BC. In Mayan writing, this starting date is 0000. Each position counts the tone of the corresponding wave. Taking in account also the 5th wave, this starting date becomes 130000. Taking into account all waves, the starting date of the 6th wave in Mayan writing would be, this is starting to look a lot like binary code. So I love this. 13 is a really big number for me. I was born on the 13th. I was married on the 13th. Um, 13 has just always been a really um, almost like a compass in my life. Like 313 is my 1111. You know how people see 1111, and every time they look at the clock or they see a certain number all the time out, you know, on signs or billboards, whatever. Yeah, 13 is mine. Um, so we've got the 9 waves, starting date in Mayan writing, the wavelength. Okay. A tune is a period of 360 natural days. Um, one of the fellow YouTubers I've been following, Naughty Beaver, says that uh, the I guess the blue and red Kachina, or the twins, are going to slow our planet down and bring us back to the 360-day year instead of 365. Um, which I totally believe that. This would always seem more natural and right to me anyway. But the challenge with the long count calendar is that the Mayans stopped using it a long time ago. While still using it, the Mayans also changed the original tracking of creational tones into a system that gives a unique coding for each day. To do so, they divided the final position into 2 positions, the last counting the remaining natural days, called kin by the Mayans, and the before last counting remaining periods of 20 kin. I call the original calendar that tracks the 9 waves of each 13 creational tones the Sol tune, meaning the counting Sol of periods of 360 kin, or natural days. Tune. The period of a tune lasting precisely 360 natural days represents the 360 degrees of arc, meaning a full circle to the Mayans. This period of a tune serves as the elementary unit for tracking creational time. During the 8th wave, each creational day and night lasts exactly 1 tune. In the previous wave, the length is 20 tune. The Mayans call this length Katun. In fact, the Mayans have words for each of the 20-fold longer periods of day and night of all previous waves, as in the table below. So we've got at 7, let's see, well, at 8, tune, Katun, Baktun, Piktun, Kalabtun, Kin Kinchiltun, Alutun, and Hablatun. 18, let's see, converted be 2.5 weeks, nearly a year. 7 be almost 20 then. Okay. The lengths and natural days of these creational days and nights show some very remarkable numbers. For first, also, the Bible refers to the importance of the number 144,000. Secondly, the period of 18 days equals 432 hours, similar to the natural oscillation frequency in hertz, meaning cycles per second, or 25.920 minutes, which is the precession of the equinox. Similar to the length of a full circle of the precession of the equinoxes in a year. The Saltune is in fact a countdown calendar. This calendar points toward the end of time, which is also the end of space and the end of identity. Since time, space, and identity are part of the same trinity in Mayan writing, this end of time is a bunch of 13s. The big question is when precisely the end of this day 7 of the ninth wave will be. Well, back to Naughty Beaver, I bet he has a day picked. Well, I know he has a day in mind for that, but you should go check his video for that. Some say the end is on December 21st, 2012. Well, we know that that wasn't the case. We know that on that date there was a massive shift in consciousness, and in my opinion, a lot of us were literally raised up to a higher level of consciousness, and some were not. And a lot of people think that we literally, our timelines altered, were shifted on that date. But nonetheless, there was definitely something happened on that date, and there was a major shift in consciousness. I was drastically affected by it personally. Others follow the Swedish researcher Carl Kalman in this and assume this end is on October 28th, 2011. Well, we know that didn't happen. However, when we match all known historic events with the creational pattern of the Saul tune, it becomes clear that the correct ending date is July 14th, 2012. Well, that's the day after my birthday, 2012. To prove this, the last part of this chapter matches important historic events with the 13 tones of the 9 waves according to this countdown date. The table below shows the starting date of each of the 9 waves. Please note that the start of the ninth and final creational wave coincides with Thanksgiving Day in the US. Okay? The ongoing process of creation keeps speeding up creational time since space-time identity form a trinity. Space and identity are growing at the same pace. The growth of identity corresponds to the evolution of consciousness. Each creational wave creates a higher level of consciousness. Since each human being reflects the overall creation, we can verify each of these hierarchical levels by investigating our own consciousness. At the first and lowest level of consciousness, we are only aware of our existence. At this level, the only objectives are survival or growth, but never both at the same time. We share this level with all living creatures, up from the single-celled organism, for example. Our physical bodies consist of 50 to 100 trillion cells. Accordingly, the first creational wave created the first single-cell organisms. If you believe that, you know, I don't really believe that, but at the second level of consciousness, our instinct tells us what to do. We share this level with all cold-blooded animals, especially the reptiles, since our instincts settle in the reptile brain, officially called brainstem, in the middle of our heads. Accordingly, the second creational wave created the first and last dinosaurs. At the third level of consciousness, our feelings guide us. We share this level with all warm-blooded animals, such as mammals, especially the apes. Our feeling originate from the limbic system, which lies on top of the brainstem. Accordingly, the third creational wave created the first primates. At the fourth level of consciousness, we follow our reason or common sense. Reasoning and logic are typical for human beings, our reasoning takes place in the neocortex, which lies on top of the limbic system. Accordingly, the fourth creational wave created the first Homo sapiens, meaning us. At the fifth level of consciousness, we honor values. Based on these values, we develop cultures. Our values originate from our right hemisphere. Accordingly, the fifth creational wave created the first human cultures on Terra. At the sixth level of consciousness, we obey norms and rules originating from the left hemisphere. Accordingly, the sixth creational wave created the first laws imposed by both government and religion. This is very interesting. At the seventh level of consciousness, we place ourselves above the law. We then justify whatever benefits us, and we gladly make an exception for ourselves. At this level, the ego is the dominating center of our being. Accordingly, the seventh creational wave created well-organized power groups using every means to benefit themselves and get around any kind of obstructing legislation. At the eighth level of consciousness, our inner strength is guiding our lives. We then intuitively know what to do. Humanity is currently jumping from power-based consciousness up to strength-based consciousness. At this level, intuition is the center of our being. Accordingly, the eighth creational wave creates a global uprising, connecting people with open minds and hearts. Well, I would say that we're pretty damn close, or we were at one point. Now I don't even know. At the ninth and highest level of consciousness, we are fully aware of the wholeness of everything. Some refer to this level as enlightenment. At this level, our loving heart is the center of our being. Accordingly, enlightened beings co-create in the ninth creational wave a new world based on respect, equivalency, and gratitude. Wouldn't that be a beautiful thing? Each higher level of consciousness enables us to experience a larger world. That is because space, meaning the experience size of the world, is a function of time, meaning the experience pace of creation, and identity, meaning the level of consciousness, as stated before. At the first consciousness level of existence, the world is the micro world of a living cell and its direct environment. The proteins within the cell play the central role in this world. The ruling principle of interaction in this world is that all action equals reaction, which is the basic concept of causality. Very interesting. Well, if we're going to talk about causality, then I think I think this is going to go way of Hermes Trismegistus or the Kabbalion seven Hermetic principles, mentalism, vibration, rhythm, correspondence, uh, causality. I used to could name them all right off, but yeah, that's very interesting. I'm curious to know what y'all think about this. This chart right here is pretty interesting too. I'm gonna call it right there, and I think that's a lot to dwell on for this video, and we will pick back up.